David Seymour joins us now, the Deputy Prime Minister and ACT Party leader. David, welcome to the show. Lovely to have you on.
Hey, great to be here and nice to hear a bit of that history, Michael.
Well, I was just going to say, 50 years later, what's changed really? It's the same sort of people writing the same sort of letters because they are concerned and careful about the fact that somebody might disagree with them and come up with a better idea. What's your response to this open letter this morning?
Well, I think what's really interesting about it is how much of it can easily be shown to be false. The starting premise is that this is a threat to democracy, but when you read the Regulatory Standards Bill, the first thing it says is its purpose is to increase the accountability of the executive, that is, ministers and departmental chief executives, to increase the accountability of the executive to Parliament. So that already is a democratic initiative. Then they say that ACT is somehow bypassing normal parliamentary scrutiny by having this bill as part of a coalition agreement. Well, hang on a minute. Since 1996, since we've had MMP, basically every important law that's been passed has been part of a coalition agreement. Now, you can argue if you're for MMP, if you're against MMP. I mean, that's another argument. But it's hardly that New Zealand has not been a democracy for the last, 29 years that we've had this system. Actually, the bill is going through Parliament just like any other. You look at the things that they're saying, and what I find incredible is that they're saying things that they must know are not true. And yet, as you've alluded to in your earlier discussion, they seem to believe that we're all that we need to be looked after. And it reminds me of the Republic, Plato's great treatise on totalitarianism, 2,500 years old, but still worth a read, where he says that the guardians sometimes need to lie to protect people from themselves. Now that of course is the opposite of our values. We believe that government should be open and people should be in on the decision making. But there's a sense of these people believe that they are Platonic philosopher kings who actually can justify lying to the public for our own good. And I don't need to tell you what I think of that.
No, almost without exception, they are academics and steeped in academia. Do you get the feeling that they think they're brighter than everybody else?
Oh, I suspect that they don't even think about it that much. I suspect that
What you mean,
they've got
they just
so used
automatically
to
assume
living
it?
in this world. Yeah. I mean, I'll give you another example. I mean, you and I have worked not together, but at different times on the same cause of euthanasia. Now, when I was doing my bill in 2016, 2017, I had a bill up, and Geoffrey Palmer came to Parliament to give a lecture about it. And all he needed to say was, this is a very important cause, I believe in it, which he does. And this young chap's got a bill. It's not perfect, but I reckon you guys should all get in behind and finally make it happen. All he needed to say. He gave this huge lecture, and he argued that nobody should be able to get euthanasia unless they went before a family court judge first, because he's obsessed with the courts, but he's also obsessed with himself. So I had to spend about 3 months going around Parliament saying, look, yes, Sir Geoffrey's a very clever man, and he was the Prime Minister, and he knows a lot about the law. But the idea that a judge gets to decide whether or not you can have your wish when it's your own mind, your own body, your own life is completely insane. Now, of course, eventually I won that argument, and we of course legalised euthanasia the way that it has been legalised without the courts making the decision. But I just give an example of someone who just kind of isn't really with the program. I mean,
Well, he wasn't with the
he's so
program
caught
when he
up
was
in
Prime
himself,
Minister.
he missed the whole
weren't in
point.
Parliament at the time, I have to say, David, but dear Lord, here we was talking about executive power and how dreadful it was, and as soon as he got to be Prime Minister, he was the worst abuser.
Yeah, and as you say, I was, of course, and that's why I appreciated hearing your introduction and the history of it, because when he was Prime Minister, I was just settling into J2 in Miss Luke's class at Manu Primary, and doing very well on my spelling lists, I have to say. But,
Good on you. You'd be the kind of
obviously
person that would do well at spelling. Listen, mate, the other
thanks.
story
Yeah,
you've
well, I
been
thought it was very
on the
important.
front page on this morning is criticising Rawiri Waititi, the Maori Party or Te Pāti Māori co-leader, for talking about insanity, his insane views about African leader Ibrahim Traore. I'm sorry, I think most New Zealanders, until he had said that, didn't know who Ibrahim Traore was, but we certainly do now. Why do you think Rawiri Waititi is insane for his views on this particular issue, and its relevance to New Zealand, David?
Well, a couple of things, and then I want to say something about the media if I can.
Sure.
It's insane because we live in pretty difficult times around the world, and we need to try and uphold, examples of good. Now, this guy is a dictator, unelected, was supposed to put on an election last year, said, sorry, there won't be any elections till 2029. He's planning to ban homosexuality, which is, 40 years in the wrong direction compared with New Zealand. He allegedly has had, extrajudicial killings going on his watch. Now, you could argue it's a bit tough in Burkina Faso. They've had difficulties with Islamic extremists. No one's really going to come out on looking like a great statesman in that sort of environment. I'm not unaware of that. But the idea that you would say, this guy's your hero, of all the people, I think there's a lot of people around the world that you could uphold as a hero right now. I'd actually hold up Fiame Mata'afa, the Prime Minister of Samoa. I think she's a real hero. She was very lucky that she didn't have her election overturned for all the wrong reasons, but she fought, and her and the pretty small Samoan judiciary managed to uphold the results of a free and fair election. One of the few countries in the world that's actually going in the opposite direction. I'd say she's a hero. But some guy who's
I take it your major point
election.
is that he's glorifying a military dictator, as you say, who expresses the usual African intolerance. But then Rawiri Waititi's no friend of democracy, is he? In general, he doesn't like the concept.
Well, he said that democracy is, there's something he doesn't believe in. It's the tyranny of the majority. I think the relevance of New Zealand, I know I've gone on a bit, but to answer your second question, is that if we have leadership where we're bringing up young people in this country to say, hey, maybe the ends justify the means. If you're upset about something, you don't have to respect the result of elections. You don't have to respect the law. Maybe you should just take it into your own hands. And I think that is an incredibly dangerous message. And we've seen around the world throughout history, when you get a whole lot of people who are told that message, and you've got a guy who's got a following on TikTok, and he's saying that, maybe dictators can be good. Maybe democracy is not that great. Maybe the world's not fair, and you should take things into your own hands. And that, I think, is incredibly dangerous and damaging. But can I make a point about the media?
Go.
Our staff have been trying to get the media to cover this story since May. They refuse to. Now, just imagine for a moment, if I went out and said, you know what, I actually think that, I believe that, Vladimir Putin's a hero, just say. They would go absolutely berserk. And in actual fact, the Christchurch press put a front page story because I said that the Christchurch City Council bureaucrats are like Vladimir Putin because you can't vote them out. That was a front page story in the Christchurch. I didn't say Vladimir Putin's good. I was a little bit worried that the Russian government might sue me for the unfair
making
comparison.
The comparison. Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, they haven't. that was a front page story. Rawiri Waititi actually says that a dictator is a personal hero, that is the politics he aspires to. And we've been trying for almost 6 weeks to get the media to cover it. And one story, to give credit where it's due, from RNZ has been done. TVNZ, crickets. Stuff, crickets. NZ Herald, crickets. Even ZB, crickets. And now we're talking about it here on the platform.
No, well, yeah, welcome to the bias of the media. Listen, why do you think that is? Why do they still give Te Pāti Māori and its collective insanity, incendiary views, racist ideology, and violent rhetoric such a pass mark all the time?